The 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris are just over a year away. 402 days to be exact, if you're counting. And just like the previous two summer games in Tokyo and Rio de Janeiro, the upcoming games already mired in scandal. Today, French police searching the headquarters of the Paris Olympic Committee as part of multiple corruption probes. So joining us now is Ryan Burrow from WGN Radio here in Chicago. He also hosted a podcast with Olympic athletes. Ryan, thank you so much for your time here. Do we know any more about what investigators are looking into when it comes to these scandals?
You mentioned these two probes. One of them was opened up in 2017, another in 2022. One of them that we saw today by police. They seem to be focusing in, and though we're not getting very specific information from authorities on this, focusing on favoritism and misappropriation of the games. This is related to construction projects, specifically one of the developers. There's still a lot of infrastructure that needs to be built in Paris ahead of these games, and there's $8 billion, an estimated $8 billion sloshing around right now. So you can only imagine what that kind of money, where it could be going, to whom, and why certain monies are being appropriated to certain people. So that's what this investigation is. The organizing committee said, let them investigate, let them do their job. They seem to be a little relaxed about this situation, knowing perhaps that it was coming. But yeah, not a good look 13 months out from the game to have police raiding one of your headquarters.
Yeah, and I'm focused still on that $8 billion with a B there. So Ryan, you just mentioned favoritism, misappropriation. There have certainly been accusations on why certain cities are chosen for the games. Tell us about some of the corruption that kind of hangs over the Olympics when it comes to that.
Well, it goes back to Salt Lake City, for one. We've seen corruption in Salt Lake City. We saw concerns over whether the games would even be possible in Sochi. We saw issues in Rio, a country that had essentially no infrastructure prepared for the Olympic Games. We saw issues in Athens. This trifecta of Tokyo, Paris, and eventually the United States in 2028 was supposed to be a little bit relaxing for the IOC. Stabilized governments, good economies, infrastructure in place. And yet with Tokyo, what we saw was another one of these corruption cases pop up, and what we're seeing today in Paris. Now, knock on wood, hopefully we don't have the same issues in Los Angeles, but that money is going to be very carefully watched in the coming years as they prepare Los Angeles for the next upcoming Olympics after Paris.
All right, so we're so much money involved, as you've talked about, but does this translate at all into the actual games, the actual competition? Because can fans trust that the competitions are actually fair and legitimate?
As we've seen in the last few Olympics with doping, we don't know, right? I don't believe medals have still been awarded in figure skating from the last Winter Games. So yeah, that's always a question. One of the things that the IOC is really looking into as well is having sustainable games that last beyond the games themselves. What's going to happen to these stadiums, these arenas, these residential housing complexes once the games are over? Because if you go online, you can see Sarajevo, even Beijing, basically these areas fall apart. So you don't want, as a potential bidding city, to build something up for 2 weeks and then watch it crumble apart. So they are looking specifically for more solid cities to be able to not only build into these games, but then have sustaining life after these games as well.
Well, and that's my last question for you. I mean, how important is it for France that this all goes well?
Oh, it's very important. I mean, security is going to be a huge issue. I don't think it's as important. I think France can very much handle the influx of people, these games. They're very capable of doing so. You start to worry about the situations that happen around games. You, God forbid, want to have anything that happened in Atlanta or Munich to happen there. But I don't think Paris is going to have issues after the fact. It's when you start reaching for some of these cities like Rio that you have to worry about, look, is there something that's going to be sustainable for these cities once people leave and once the games are over?
All right, and a lot of money is on the line. All right, Ryan Burrow, WGN Radio, thank you. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.